い。
いやいやいやいやいや。
ズバリ。
あはは。
よろしいですか？まあ。
オッケー。
へへへ。
あれ？
ズバリ。
まったく。
あはは。
Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about Danganronpa today. It is finally out on Nintendo Switch because despite being a no-brainer since the day the Switch was announced, it has taken this long for Spike Chunsoft to finally stick them on the console. Now they're there though, and it is a cause for celebration. I have been waiting for these games to be in portable form again since they were released on the PlayStation Vita many moons ago. I know they're also available on mobile, but as somebody that prefers the console experience, I have been waiting for them to get a release on Switch. I just didn't realize that I would be waiting this long. But anyway, I'm not going to re-review them on digitallydownloaded.net. I have already got reviews of all the games on the PlayStation Vita. I don't have much else to add to them except to say that they play just as nicely on the Switch. And if you haven't played a Danganronpa game as yet, you really owe yourself the opportunity to do so. They are really exceptional games. I know that there is this increasing trend by certain sectors of the gaming community to look down on them, but they are the perfect gateway drug into visual novels for one thing. They perfectly blend humour and colour and vibrancy and really interesting eclectic characters with a series of murder mysteries. They have a Phoenix Wright style kind of courtroom drama going on within them. They have excellent philosophy. If you're into your thinky games, then you're going to get a lot of thinking out of Danganronpa. And just generally, they're exceptional. So if you haven't played them yet, then this is a great opportunity to do so. What I wanted to use this video to do, though, is to discuss one extra game that also got released alongside the trilogy of visual novels. And that is this board game thing that you're seeing on the screen here in front of you. Now, this is a new release within the Danganronpa property. It is very fanservicey. It is there for people who are existing fans of Danganronpa. But once you've played through the trilogy, you should definitely give this thing a go because I absolutely love it. So the first thing you need to know about it is that even though it looks like a board game, it's not really a board game in the sense that you might be thinking. It's got nothing to do with the likes of Monopoly or any of the kind of better board games that people play these days than Monopoly. It is a single player thing. It just plays out on this board. So you pick one of the Danganronpa characters, whichever one you like or have unlocked, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. And you are given the task of really just leveling them up as far as you can within 51 turns. So you roll a dice and you move your character around the board. You do have a lot of freedom in terms of the path that you take around the board. You've got a lot of choice about where your character will end up at the end of the turn. And depending on the square they land on, there will be a different effect. Sometimes you'll have to fight a battle, which takes place in a Dragon Quest style combat system. Sometimes you'll just simply level your character up. At other times you'll have these little narrative vignettes, which are good fun as well, and they are all kind of customized to each character. At the end of 51 turns, the trip is over, and whatever you've managed to achieve for that character is saved. So if you manage to get your character up to level 36, then that level will be saved as their kind of battle card. If you only get them up to level 20, they'll be less powerful. From there, you take your characters and form a party of 4, and you need to use those 4 characters to progress through this dungeon in a secondary mode, which is really just endless waves of enemies that attack. The enemies get more powerful as you go along, so you'll need more powerful parties to deal with them. So that's the loop. You'll level your characters up in a board game, and then you'll take them to the dungeon to try and progress. As you progress through the dungeon, additional things will happen to make it easier to level up in the board game, and so on. So the loop just continues on and on from there. So with that brief discussion out of the way, what I will say up front is that this is a very grindy game, and you do need to be prepared for the grind to get into it. At the start, you only have one character unlocked per Danganronpa title, so the majority of the characters are locked off from you. And by playing the board game, you'll earn some coins, which you can then use to unlock more characters. Or alternatively, once you have 4 characters leveled up and you can start to participate in the dungeon quest style thing, then you'll get even more coins, which you can use to unlock even more characters. Those characters unlock through a gacha-like system, which doesn't ask for real money, at least as far as I've played so far. I know there will be real money microtransactions added later on, but I haven't had that available to me, and I've been able to make pretty good progress through the game without it, so without spending real money. So it's all just kind of an illusion unless you really want to speed things up. But if you've got a bit of patience and can wait for those coins to come in, then you will make pretty decent progress in terms of unlocking more characters, being able to play through the board with some of your favorites at that point, and then being able to form the party to go into the dungeon. Further turning it into a grind, each of the characters has different forms, and this is where the fan service really starts to kick in. One of the forms, which is the third most rare form, I think, second most rare form. The second most rare form is of a swimsuit for each of the characters, and that is naturally my favorite. But yes, to get those, you need to get lucky with the gachas. To get that for your favorite character, you need to get really lucky with the gachas. And at that point, then they'll appear as in their swimsuit costume in the game. But those rarer characters also level up better, so they become more effective at making their way through the dungeon. All of this is stuff that you would have already experienced in mobile games if you play them on any level. But this one gets away with it, I think, because it is just so charming, and because I haven't felt like I needed to spend real money on it as yet. But what I find really interesting about all of this is the tone that it sets, because it would be very easy to turn Danganronpa into a very serious thing. As I said earlier in the video, there is a lot of philosophy that runs underneath what Danganronpa is doing, and it could very easily turn into a in-depth discussion into game theory and Schrodinger's box and the implications of that and various other themes that run through it. There's a lot of moral philosophy that goes on with the character of Monokuma, and some of the later games go into even more kind of in-depth discussions about perception and reality and all kinds of various things. It goes into some very deep places, really. And it would be very easy for the game with a certain presentation to become a very serious thing. I thought at the very start, when I first played the first Danganronpa, that the visuals and all of that and the character of Monokuma was really there as a way of differentiating the series from the Virtue's Last Reward series, which in so many ways is very similar, but obviously does take itself very seriously and has a much more somber tone to it. So I thought that that was a way of differentiating things, but this board game really seems to go above and beyond to take this thing in a direction that I never thought they would with Danganronpa. I always thought it was going to be a fun, light game kind of over the top of something that you would take seriously, but this one, the board game thing, it doesn't have that serious second level. It's just pure fan service. And I don't think I've seen a more pure effort at fan service since Dead or Alive of Beach Volleyball, which is another thing entirely. But this game really goes in that same direction, and it was just something that I wasn't expecting. I'm certainly happy that it's happened. I really enjoyed this, and I like my fan service, but especially with some of the characters. I mean, Kirigiri and her swimsuit's just great, but putting that aside, I just didn't expect this series to go this direction. So it's been really interesting to play this, and I've really enjoyed it. What surprised me in a way that is less positive for this game is the way that it handles characters. Danganronpa has always been so famous for having such excellent characters and characterization, and everybody has their own favorite characters, and that is, well, at least that was the reason to play the next Danganronpa, to see what the new cast would be like. But this game does very little with them, and that is disappointing. So like I said earlier in the video, there's these little vignettes that each character has. Each character has their own vignettes, but they're really just a statement of who that character is, and it's a very shallow take on them. So, for example, if a character has particularly sharp sense of humor, then, or a sarcastic sense of humor, then their little vignette will give them an opportunity to be sarcastic in some way. If a character is very serious and the game pokes fun at them, or the series has poked fun at them for that in the past, then the vignette will be a little joke at the character's expense, and so on and so forth. It doesn't do anything with those characters that we didn't already know, and that, again, that's quite disappointing to me, because I played Danganronpa for the characters ultimately, and I kind of expected this board game to extend my understanding of those characters in some way, which this one doesn't do, other than show me what Kirigiri looks in a bikini, which is, again, fine, and I'm not criticizing the game for that. I would just have liked to see more of Kirigiri in the process. I also find myself wondering if this is it for Danganronpa now, and I would suggest it might be. This may well be the last hurrah for the series, because the creatives have moved on. One of the key roles in Danganronpa is the role of Monokuma, and unfortunately the voice actor that did such a good job at setting up that character is no longer available to work, really. She's got dementia, which is very unfortunate. It is the voice of Doraemon, and that was part of the thing that made me love Danganronpa in the initial stages, that Japan's iconically wholesome blue cat was also the voice of this absolutely sadistic bear. And without that dynamic at work, then Monokuma has felt a little bit lessened since she's left the project. So I would rather them call a stop to it than continue to try and reinvent it in ways that have diminishing returns and end up just making me disappointed with the series. If this is the last hurrah, then it is a great way to finish, because it does bring together all your favourite characters. And while I have issues with how little it does with those characters, it is still your favourite characters, and a whole bunch of them, and it's a chance to get Kirigiri and the sweary girl, I can never remember her name, but from Danganronpa 3, the girl that has just got the most foul mouth, getting those two together to go on little dungeons to kill slime-like Monokuma bears. It is a fanservicey dream, and they've done a good job in making that work. So definitely don't play this game if you haven't played the trilogy beforehand, but one of the benefits of Spike Chunsoft releasing it all at once is that you can go and get the first 3 games, download them all, have them all on your Switch. When you finish playing through the third one, which will take you about 40 or 50 hours to get through all 3, then you're ready to play this board game and have a great time saying farewell to your favourite characters. So that's enough for this video. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let's chat about Danganronpa. I've never actually done a video on Danganronpa before. I should do a few more, because this is a series that I really do love, but it fell off the radar because they just stopped releasing them. This is an excuse to start talking about them again, I guess. So, yeah, let's have a chat about Danganronpa. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Tell me who your favourite character is, which swimsuit body you're looking forward to seeing the most, and yeah, we'll see you next time. If you do enjoy this video, if you enjoy my work in general, please do mash that like and subscribe button. That way you won't miss any as I upload them. And if you want to support what we're doing here, you can do so. You can jump over to Patreon. There's a link in the description below this video. And you can back me for as little as $1 a month. And in doing so, not only do you support the video stuff we do, not only do you support digitallydownloaded.net, but you also get a monthly magazine, which is at least 48 pages of excellent content. And you also get the visual novel, which I'm working very hard at. And you may have seen the music video that I put out earlier or last week now, that gave you a sample of some of the music on that V, and it's shaping up really nicely, and you get that just for backing me on Patreon. So, do that, and I will certainly appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next video.